We are focusing on interviews with key business process outsourcers, and I'm very pleased that today we have Shantanu Ghosh, who is the Senior Vice President and Global Head of Business Process Management Practices, Solutions, Transitions and Lean Six Sigma at Genpact. So Shantanu Ghosh knows the world of business process transformation probably better than most, having been CFO of various General Electric businesses since 2000. He took on the pivotal role with which he is leading today at Genpact in 2005. So he's been very much within this role for the last 7 or so years. General Electric had been running their shared services for a number of years when in 1997 the shared services organisation was commercialised and it became an outsourcer. It now competes very robustly with the other tier 1 outsourcers and enjoys a turnover of $2 billion each year, and last year it saw double-digit growth. So I think it's fair to say there are exciting times ahead for Genpact. Its focus is on enabling the intelligent enterprise, as it calls the intelligent enterprise, which, as they refer to, outcompetes its competitors. And this particular model is powered by 3 key areas that Genpact put a lot of focus on, which is process, technology and analytics. 2013 is potentially a very exciting year for Genpact as they look to grow their client base, which is very rich with 130 or so clients, most of which run multi-processes with Genpact. But they're also looking to extend their consulting services as well. So I'm very pleased to have Shantanu Ghosh in the interview with me today. Hello, Shantanu.
Hello, Susie. It's a pleasure to be in discussion with you.
Good, thank you. So let's kick off. We've got a number of questions. Let's kick off with the first question. Some observers of this market who have been watching the market for a number of years and watching the outsourcing, specifically in the F&A space, suggest that 2013 may not enjoy the growth that previous years have seen. And it might indeed even be a bad year for outsourcers in the F&A space, with deals potentially dropping in financial value and also not increasing in number. So clearly we're just around 2 months into 2013, but what evidence do you have that might suggest that this isn't the case?
So, Susie, obviously, from our perspective, we would really hope that the observers are wrong. From an evidence perspective, if I look at our pipeline of deals, the evidence does not suggest a slowdown, especially in the finance and accounting area. I think if we compare it to 2010, 11, and 2012, 2012 was clearly a much larger year than 10 and 11, and we see the pipeline, almost growing sequentially. Plus, in our conversation with market participants, advisors, and analysts, we are at this point in time not getting a sense of any significant slowdown. I think the point which you mentioned about smaller deal sizes has been a bit of a trend for the past few years. And in some ways, it is not something which we get hugely concerned about, because larger deal sizes does not necessarily mean full-fledged implementation over the life cycle of the contract. Many of the deals which were signed based on a total world view and a lot of transformation have sometimes not realized their full runway. Whereas what is happening right now is that more customers are trying to ensure that what they sign up for can get implemented quickly. And they're looking at it more as a step in a longer phase of transformation, as opposed to trying to work through the whole cycle in one shot. So we don't get overly worried about a mildly declining deal size, because in some ways, sometimes it can actually enhance the execution ability of those deals from the customer side and run through the change management and the investments that they need to make.
So if we look specifically at the F&A business within Genpact, what kind of growth have you seen over the last few years, specifically within F&A deals coming on board?
Susie, I will not be able to disclose our service line growth because we don't disclose it from being a publicly traded company in the New York Stock Exchange as a separate number. However, if you think about F&A being one of our lead businesses and almost 1/3 of the company's business, clearly our growth has to either match or be ahead of the overall company growth. And it continues to be our lead service line for getting new customers and for growing with our existing customers. So we have seen very healthy growth over the last few years. As I said, in our new logo additions in 2012 were among the highest, and we continue to see a very robust pipeline going into 2013.
Okay, and what you were mentioning there was quite interesting about maybe how clients or prospects are changing the way in which they're actually partnering with an outsourcer. So could you be a bit more specific as far as how clients are changing the way that they are actually procuring outsourcing services?
Sure. So I think there are 2 or 3 different changes that we see in the market. The first, which I alluded to a little while earlier, is that while the clients are thinking through a broader transformation journey and they have a end goal in mind, which may be 3 to 5 years from a timeline or a horizon perspective, they are also making it modular in terms of how they will think about implementation. So you could have a situation with a large consumer products group in the U.S. They're clearly on a journey to get their overall processes standardized and to best in class across all their process elements. But the initial execution contract is on the procure-to-pay side, and once that gets happened, then of course there's runway for the rest of it. Now, while the execution is happening, there are discussions and dialogues happening on the rest of the processes and what could else be in scope, but that's not holding back getting to a speedier execution of one modular part of the overall transformation journey. So that's one. 2, clearly there is a lot more thought being given in terms of how to design both the operating organization as well as a best-in-class process roadmap. That does not necessarily mean that everything is changing on day one. But again, the whole idea here is that you are going into a particular engagement with a clear plan, roadmap, and a thought process of transformation, as opposed to initially just doing a lift and ship and then saying we will see later on. How much of that transformation gets done upfront versus how much gets done over a period of time is a matter of circumstance, is dependent on many different elements and the customer's change readiness. So that's the second aspect. The third aspect clearly is on looking at both effectiveness as well as efficiency as drivers for going down the transformation journey. Clearly, efficiency continues to be very important in this kind of an environment and is extremely core to the value proposition. But what we find very heartening, because it's something which we have been championing for many years now, is also a focus on thinking about effectiveness and working towards that along with your chosen partner.